we must consider what our offer to the sellers is. However, we aren't even making the initial offer. The seller's making us the offer through the questions that we ask. I don't know what to offer a seller because I don't even know what they're willing to do. I'm not going to offer some crazy stuff that they're not down with. So I got to have that conversation with them before I embarrass myself and put them on the defensive, right? These sellers, sometimes as soon as you call them, man, they're ducking and moving, right? We don't want that. That's not a good way to build a relationship, to build a business deal. People's defenses have to come down. So we have a conversation with them. Now, how does that conversation work where we have the best chance? You can see I'm leading up to where we get to the script because I want you to understand the model. There's two things. So before we even get into the script, before we even get into the model, before we even get into the verbiage, we got to know two things, and it must happen in this order. Number one, what's the lowest price we can get if we brought in cash and closed as soon as possible? Oh my God, he's going down the wholesale right. He talks all kinds of smack all day long about wholesaling and why it sucks and why it's like selling Blackberries in an Apple Android market. True. But the reason I want to start with that is I want to set the stage with the seller that, look, I could totally come in and just cash you out on this house. It's not an issue. And even if you don't have money, it actually isn't an issue. Because if you get in a good enough deal, you'll get the private money, whether it's from me or from somebody else. You guys are the 800-pound gorillas of your marketplace because you have me. Any deal that you can get that meets our criteria, I'll buy from you. Now, you'll be better off selling to someone else, and I'll show you how to sell to someone else because, I'm going to get a great deal from you if you're going to sell it to me. But I am going to ask you, when you get with the seller, to present yourself in a way where you can obviously cash this out. Whether you know me or not, you get a house at 60, 65, 70 cents on the dollar, you are not going to have a problem getting money for that deal, like immediately, whether it's me or somebody else. And if it's not going to be me, I'll show you where to get it. So we want to go in with that first, but not because we expect to get that deal, but because we want to learn what the lowest price we can get from that seller is, so that once we hear that and we go into the discussion on monthly payments, they don't jack the price way up because they got to wait for it. You understand why cash is king, why cash is important right away? If they do now, and also the other aspect, really probably the most important part of this point is that a minority of people are actually going to say a price that you're like, holy crap, I didn't expect them to say that. Yeah, let's just go down that road. Forget the terms. This guy inherited this property. He's got a business opportunity. It could be the exact end. Look, there's a whole spectrum, right? People who will discount their houses, they need the money right away. A lot of times it's for a business opportunity that they want to pursue or something else they want to pursue. A marriage, a trip to the Philippines where they're going to go, do whatever. Other times it could be like the dude inherited the property. He's got a bad drug habit. He wants the house. I've told you about that story about Sterling, right? The guy that I bought that house from in Chicago, super cheap. Obviously had a drug habit, but I'm not trying to fulfill anybody's drug fantasies or anything, but if he's willing to sell his house for whatever price, I'll give him the money. I hope he doesn't spend it on drugs, but what am I going to do? So that sounds so bad, I know, but if it wasn't me, it's going to be somebody else, right? So the point is this, and I don't know for sure that the dude was doing drugs. It's just that when we cleaned the house out, there was broken crack pipes all over the damn place. So the point is this, sometimes people need money, they need liquidity. Think about it like this. Okay, now I have to be careful about this because I don't want to impress upon you the wrong thing. That opportunity from a week or two ago with that company where we knew it was going to go up double. Extremely rare that you kind of know that, right? If somebody else who knows something is going to be a huge business opportunity for them, it doesn't have to be a stock. It could be just a regular business opportunity. And you're like, well, why is this person selling me their $300,000 house for $200,000? They're just going to give up $100,000? What a freaking idiot. Well, maybe they're not a freaking idiot. To get the $300,000, they'd have to probably sign up with the realtor. They'd have to get a contract 30, 60, 90 days later. wait for the loan to be ready to close with the potential risks of it not closing, and then get their 300. Well, the business opportunity is gone by them. If I give them the 200, they capitalize on that business opportunity just a couple of weeks later, and that 200 turns to 400. Who is the smart person in the transaction? Me and the seller. Situations vary, folks. They vary. So the point is that we want to see if we can get a good price, and it sets the stage for the terms deal, because they're like, well, the house is worth 300. I can see it's worth 300, so I'm not really trying to sell it for less than 300. Oh, okay, that's cool. I get it. A lot of times when we come in with cash and close immediately, it's because people have another business opportunity or something, and they're willing to, for the liquidation, for the liquidity of the money, they're willing to sell it a little cheaper, because selling it to get full price might take 3-4 months, and they don't want to wait. So a lot of the times when I come in and buy houses for cash, which I could totally do on this house, we usually will get like a bigger discount than that, but you don't have to do it, because your house is definitely worth more than what I would pay cash for it. There's no doubt. But I can go to a bank right now and get like a foreclosure or a real estate owned property that they have and probably get it for way cheaper. So I probably would just reserve my cash for that. It's nothing against your house. It's just that, you want to get what you deserve on this, and that's totally cool. But here's the good news, is I can give you what you deserve on this. I can actually give you your full price. You said you wanted, 300 and not a penny less on this, and it's worth 300. Well, I could give you the 300. I bet that sounds pretty good to you, doesn't it? The only catch on it is you got to be a little bit patient in getting the 300, meaning I'd make you monthly payments for a period of time until I give you the 300. Is that something you can live with? And we need to learn what their answer to that is. Now, if they object and say, no, why would I do that? We're going to go through objection handling and how to handle those things. But these are the first two things we need to learn. Can we get a great price? And if we can't, are they even open to monthly payments? That second question that I just brought up, the answer is going to be, oh, hell no, I ain't doing no crap like that. We move right into realtor mode. Okay, well, you're going to need to get this thing listed if you want to get full price from a owner-occupying, bank-qualified buyer. They're going to be represented by a realtor, so you're going to need representation on your part. We have that discussion. If it's like, oh, hell no. If it's like, well, tell me what you mean. I don't know what you mean by monthly payments. Well, now we're in the discussion. They're open. Okay, well, do you have the house free and clear? No, there's a mortgage on it. What's the balance? What's the payment? We get into the discussion. Folks, this is the way that you approach these sellers. The seller at some point might be like, well, just tell me, like, what would the offer be on that? Well, I don't know. I got to learn certain things. Like, so you told me what the mortgage balance is. Now, and then we go across, we're going to go through this later, but we got to learn. We already learned the price. We have to learn how long, how much monthly, and if there's going to be a down payment. And there's a very specific training around each of those points. But the first thing we got to learn is, one, lowest cash price. Close ASAP, no hassle, no financing, cash. That helps us because we usually will fall into the terms discussion, which is the second point. Okay, well, I could probably get you that money. You got to be patient in getting it. Are you open to taking payments for a period of time until we pay you off? That's either a yes, a no, or a maybe. If it's a yes, now we're going to get their offer to us across those four dimensions: price, monthly, duration, down. If it's a no, realtor mode, like we talked about in the previous slides. If it's a maybe, we answer some questions and then draw the offer out of them. Folks, this is the whole kit and caboodle right here. When you get good at that and understanding that that's the first thing that we have to do on these calls with the sellers, it's going to make such a huge difference. I promise you it does. Like when I see people, like sometimes people will send me tapes of their calls with sellers. When they get this concept, that's when they start making a lot of money. This concept is so crucial. All right, let's talk a little bit deeper on it. If they're not open to payments and the price they want doesn't indicate a potential wholesale deal, a rehab deal, some kind of deep discount, then we have to have that conversation about their only remaining option. It involves using a realtor. It's one of the key reasons that I talked about last week that I think it's best for you to go get the license, get a close relative, fill that role. We have a whole script for it. It works like a charm. It works way better than the realtor scripts that are out there because we're approaching them as a buyer. We're approaching them as someone who wants their house. We're not approaching them as someone who wants to siphon the equity out of their house through a commission. We fell back into that because they won't sell it to us in the reasonable ways that we've discussed buying it from them. We didn't have to jam some stupid offer down their throat, arguing with them that their house is worth 50 cents on the dollar. That's how you lose rapport with people. Okay, we don't want to do that. There's a whole script for all this. We're gonna go through all of that. And it's important because the majority of people are not going to be open to monthly payments, so you're going to have a backup plan. But what do we do with the people who are? If you were to call 4 sellers a night, spend an hour of your evening, you could get through 100 people in a month, right? 15 minutes per call, 4 calls a night, that's an hour. Over 30 days, that would be 120. So we're giving you 5 days off. 25 days times 4 calls at 15 minutes each, that's 25 hours. That's an hour a day for less than a month. If you'll do that, how many out of those 100 people do you think are going to be here open to monthly payments? My data shows 20% at least. If I want to fudge that a little bit because they were just kind of asking questions, we could get as high as a third. They'll at least hear what you have to say. How does that work? Blah, blah, blah. 20% of them are serious. That doesn't mean you're going to get 20% of the deals, but 1 in 5 are going to be open to the idea. So be prepared for 4 of them to be like, oh, hell no, I ain't doing that. That's why I want you to get good at the realtor piece, right? Now, if they are okay with taking payments, here's the 4 dimensions. We got to learn, do they have the house free and clear? Oftentimes just asking that question like that, do you have the house free and clear? They'll say, no, we still owe $270, payment of $1,800, whatever. If they don't follow through with that level of detail, okay, well, what's owed? What's the payment on it? And then we're going to learn what's the lowest that we can pay them each month. We have a way of going about that. We're going to learn what the longest duration they can give us before being paid in full. We have a way of going about that. It's in the script. Bear with me now so I can at least pin the framework in. And then we learn if there's a down payment that's required, and if so, how close to zero can they get? Well, we don't ask it like that. There's a way that we do it, but this is the framework that we're operating from. So we're going to get that information, and then there's just 2 more things we need to know. Do you know what they are? Before I tell you, remember, we're helping the seller construct an offer to us. They had never contemplated monthly payments prior to our call. They put a price out there, and that's usually what their offer is. But now they need to be walked through a different way of doing things, an alternative that might be good for them. We're going to do that for them. We're not countering them. We're not making them an offer. They're making us an offer. Folks, a lot of people get this confused, and that's where your ratio of closings will go down. Okay, so what else do we need to know once they've named their offer? Now remember now, we aren't arguing with them. We're not countering. We're filling out a form that says this is what they said, and then we're going to plug them into a certain thing. If you want to, you can even say things like, hey, I need to learn this information so I can run it by my committee, I can run it by my partner, and then we'll determine what we're going to do. So it's in your best interest to actually tell me what you're willing to do and not play games with I want this and hope they come back at something else. Just tell me what the lowest you'll go is on monthly, the lowest that you'll go in terms of price. How long can we realistically do this if we're making the payment? If you're going to tell me a few months, I can tell you right now it's probably not going to get much attention from my board, from my partner, from my committee, from me as I think about it, however you want to play it. But once they give us the information, I want to find out 2 more things. One is, will they really do what they said? Yeah, I would take payments if you paid this much and you were willing to do this price and you paid me in full by this date and my first payment from you begins at whatever time. Will they really do it? Because the thing is, before I spend time on this stuff, because we don't have to spend a lot of time in this business anymore. That's why I showed you that notary thing from the other day. I want to actually get an offer in hand from them on what they said they would do before I invest my time. They've already made a price offer. They probably put it on Zillow or whatever, or they've told me. I already know what their price offer is. I'm helping them construct an offer that is across these other dimensions, a terms offer. So I need to know that they mean it before I spend a lot of time on it. So what does that mean? That means, number 1, I got to find out, can they even do what they said? Which means all owners, everybody who's named on the deed is going to have to be on the paperwork that we send them. Hey, are you the only one on the deed, or do you share it with like a spouse or relative? No, it's just me. Cool. Okay, well, look, you said you wanted this price, you wanted this monthly, you wanted this duration, and this is what the down payment was if there was going to be one. So what I'll do is I'll send you the paperwork that outlines that. And then if you'll just send that back to me, verifying that you'll do that, then I know that you're for real, and I can go in front of my partner, my committee, everybody else, and see what we can actually do for you here. Is that something that you're okay with? Now, if they object to doing that, then they didn't mean it. So it's like, well, look, tell me what you actually will do. We don't have to be locked in. I mean, I can put something in the paperwork that says that this is subject to your wife's approval, this is subject to your attorney's approval, whatever. But I want to at least have something to know that you mean what you say before I go spending my time, money, energy, and resources on determining if we're going to buy this house from you or not. You'll save so much time, folks, versus just going out to the house. Now, you can. If you're a realtor, just go out to the house because you'll get the listing, right? If you have the realtor license, just go out to the house. You don't have to do this step. But if you're not a realtor, then I'd say do this step. If you are a realtor in that area, go out to the house because if they don't do this, you're going to get the realtor listing more than likely. So it's worth it for you to go out to the house. Let them get to see your face, be belly to belly, that kind of thing. Okay. Now, I just want to color this in, and then we're going to pick up on this more tomorrow. But I want to do this last slide here about what I should be offering sellers, because I want to make it clear that I actually do this, the stuff I just said here, before I go out to the house. If I was a realtor, I would just go out to the house. Sometimes, because I have realtors on my team and I can kind of tell that they're not really meaning what they say, I will just send the realtor out there to do things and I won't make them sign it. So it is a feel kind of thing that you have to get, right? But just to be sort of black and white on this, I like to get that done before agreeing to go out to the house. And again, if you're a realtor, make the appointment. You're in a position to get the listing if they sort of flake on the deal they offered. And I'm just going to tell you this, be prepared for this, folks. Be prepared for this. We're dealing with humans. We're not dealing with like better creatures like dogs. I just love dogs. Y'all know I love dogs. But really just about all animals. They taste great. No, just kidding. I mean, they do, but I don't eat dogs. But no, animals I think are just exceptional creatures, most of them. Anyway, and humans sometimes get on my nerves, as I'm sure they do for you guys too. Look, 50% of the people, just be prepared for this. You're going to have a great conversation on the phone. Don't go getting all excited doing backflips down your hallway because you think you got the deal. Half of the people who tell you they're going to do what they say they're going to do just don't. That's why I got tired of going out to houses and having people change their mind. That's why I want to get the paperwork back before I spend any time on this thing. If you're a realtor, again, just go out. Now, understand this point. This is where people get confused. I'm not making them an offer. So I'm not like signing the DocuSign or even the paperwork. I'm saying, here's what you said you would do. I just want to see if you mean it. You already put a price offer out. Let me see if you meant what you said with respect to terms. So I'm just going to send you the paperwork that encapsulates what you said. If you think I'm pulling a fast one or something, we'll write in big bold letters that this agreement is subject to attorney review before it's finally accepted, and you can back out of it. But I want to at least know that you are willing to do this, and this will verify that instead of just jawboning with me here. So I'm just going to send you the paperwork on that. Just check through that. You'll see that you have the escape clause and everything if you do change your mind, which is fine. But I want to know that you actually, at this point, are realistic that you would do this. And if we get that back from you, then my next step is I'm immediately, either me or someone else is going to go out to the house, meet you, take some pictures of the neighborhood, make sure the house is as you described it. And if the whole thing makes sense, then we'll do the deal. If we need to sharpen the pencil, we'll sharpen the pencil at that time in front of you. And like I said, we can make this totally subject to your attorney's review and approval. So you're not like committed to anything just by filling out the paperwork. But I need to have some basis for moving forward. That's fair, isn't it? Yes or no? Folks, that's what we're trying to do. You'll save so much time if you do it my way. Or you can do it your way and the way that everybody else teaches, and you'll get all dressed up, you'll sit in traffic, you go out there, and they might not even be home. I had that happen one too many times where I was like, we need to change this.